I was talking with a buddy the other day about the prospect of World War III and just wondering if the American government came out and said, we are now at war with Russia, would the American government, the American populace accept it? Could you actually get that over the line in terms of people paying attention and submitting to the government's authority and agreeing to it? And because you think about like the trajectory of the last 100 years, when World War II rolled around, there was just, as far as I can gather, within pretty much like all the competing forces, there was no internal debate. There was actually a little bit. I was reading the other day about this guy who wrote about the pacifist movement in World War II in the States, but it was so minuscule in contrast to the overwhelming support of the collective, and like this is what we have to do for the betterment of America. So that was World War II. Then you jump to like the 60s, Vietnam War, JFK, ask not what you can do for yourself, blah, blah, blah. Ask what you can do for your country. And which is really kind of a retarded thing to say. It's like, how about you negate your own personal responsibility in the hope that you're going to get something back? And I guess people probably riding high off the World War II victory and thinking that, like, yeah, we all came together and we defeated the big baddie Dolphy, that we're going to have to do the same thing again and we'll reap the rewards of freedom and all that shit. And yeah. And so then, but the support for the Vietnam War was seemingly less within the collective. There were people scampering away to Canada. I found out the other day that Rick James was a draft dodger and he went up to, actually, I think Rick James is maybe avoiding the Korean War. But anyway, Rick James went up to Canada. He was in Toronto and he played in a band with Neil Young. So for those playing at home, yeah, those bros collabed way early on. But yeah, Rick James was getting away from the US military, and there was a bunch of those guys, and Trump saying that he had fat ankles or something. That's why he couldn't serve. So there was a bunch of those dudes, and there was a growing movement of like, I don't want to fight. And then you get to like the 90s, Iraq War and the war on terror. And at that point, the military, it's for psychos purely, or jocks who saw 9/11, basically preying on the hormones that were pulsing through the veins of 17-year-olds all over America at that point in time, and kind of tapping into their rebellious spirit, hijacking it through 24-hour news cycles and weaponizing it. But even still, it was, I would assume, I wasn't living in America at the time, but it would have just been kind of the nutcases. And it gets murky because it seems like with modern warfare, you don't need every Tom, Dick, and Harry, some dude who works as a fucking Amazon delivery driver. You don't necessarily need him on the front line. However, um, I would still argue that the majority of people don't want war anymore. They're fatigued by it. They've seen how veterans have been fucked over. And I guess that was evidenced when Obama was like, yeah, we might have to go into Syria. And people were like, fuck no, we don't want to do that. And so essentially what I'm trying to say is that America, and I would argue the West, has slid well away from the concept of the collective towards the individual. And now it's the most individualistic time to be alive. And I feel like social media, the biggies, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, they get labeled as facilitating or I guess kind of instigating this solipsistic worldview and our how everyone wants to kind of curate their own personal algorithm and decide upon their own reality, as opposed to having a sense of agreement in terms of what's happening outside themselves. But I feel like, in a weird way, maybe the Zucks and the Dorseys and the Chinese dudes are actually just giving people what they want. What we were, the conclusion that we'd reached after the last 100 years, where these wars had been sold to us as kind of for the greater good, and kind of like, yeah, you're gonna have to fight, and you you're gonna sacrifice, but you're gonna get a decent ROI with the quality of American life. People have realized that that's a crock of shit, and they're not gonna accept it anymore. And so I feel like this is almost in defense of the social media giants, because I feel like they get a bad rap. They're like the big baddies who've convinced us to just be kind of navel gazers and not engage with what's happening outside ourselves. I think the American government and I guess the hangover from colonialism, that yeah, you should do this for your fucking king, or you should do this for the central authority, the rich fuckers. That's led us here. And yeah, the Zucks and the Dorseys, they're just, little nerds who are kind of like figuring out where the pain points lie, and where the problems exist, and then catering solutions around those existing problems. So fucking hell, that's my thoughts, me. And yeah, don't fight wars. It's not a waste of time. But I don't, like I said at the beginning, I think if this World War III thing kicks off, I think a lot of people wouldn't accept it. It would just be like a war in name only. And so many people aren't willing to fight anymore, which is a good thing. All right. Peace out.